Thank you for joining me for Zone In with Akesi. Today is a Zoom recording with my guest, and I hope you enjoy. I had my episode last week, and I was talking about church girl gone astray, and I was sharing my experiences with you on different things or different happenings in the church. Now I have someone with me. I wouldn't reveal so much of who he is because we'll find that out when we start the conversation. But he's also going to share his experiences. And really, the episode is about bringing out ways in which we can change the narrative and live properly and still worship this God that we serve or worship this God that we so love, and bring our young people together as a family. So yes, enough of my talk. I'm gonna introduce you to this young man, not so young man. Yeah, so his name is Paul Akasanza, but I'm going to talk straight to him and then he tells us who he is. So yes, Mr. Paul Akasanza, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, and where are you joining us from?
Well, I'm actually in British Columbia, Canada right now. So,
Okay,
hello
and
from British Columbia.
hello to everyone there, and hello from Ghana as well. Um, Tell us who you are. Who are you?
Oh dear, that's a loaded question.
Okay, okay. Or let me say, um, why are you here? Why do you want to talk to us?
Okay, well, l- like you said in your introduction, your last episode about the little bit you did about a church girl going astray, and I watched it on YouTube, and it's it just connected with me. There was something in that message that just really connected with the way that I have been feeling for so long. And I thought, it'd be great to just reach out to you and talk some more about it, because there's just something in there that I think young people today, um, especially those growing up in a Christian environment, need to hear. Because I put myself, I'm in my 40s now, and I think of myself, 25 years ago, even 30 years ago, growing up as a young man in the church environment in Ghana. And I wish somebody had called me aside and had this sort of a conversation with me, because I really believe that would have made a difference in my life today.
Okay, so let's put this in context. People will be saying, even though this message is not geared towards just Ghanaian churches, we are talking about the universal church. But let's put it in context. Where did you grow up?
Born and raised in Ghana, West Africa.
Okay. What
Yeah,
kind of family? What kind of family do you typically come from, and
well,
what kind of upbringing did you have?
yeah, and very similar to you, I had a Christian upbringing. My parents were very, very active in the church. Actually, my dad was, I guess, what you would call, in normal terms, a pastor of a church growing up in Ghana. And so, right from a very young age, I was exposed to um, the Christian worldview, understanding what it means to believe in something or someone greater than us, and having a purpose in life, which was beyond what we know or what we think we know about our lives. So, I mean, all of that is part of who I am today, and I don't deny it, and I don't reject it or anything like that. But it's certainly, like I said, um, there was some experiences growing up as a child in a Christian home with Christian practices, with a Christian upbringing, and being in that sort of an environment, like you were saying in your last episode, going to church conferences and young people's conferences and prayer meetings and Bible studies and all those kind of things. And I don't know if you remember, we used to wake up early in the morning for morning devotions. We used to call them morning
Hell
watches,
yeah.
uh, And I kid you not, and you know what, I'll be brutally honest with you, that was probably the worst part of my upbringing was having to wake up in the mornings at 5:30 in the morning, to go sit down and pray. And not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it was hard for me as a child growing up because at that point I didn't understand the why. There was a lot of the what. There was a lot of we were doing it because we had to do it, because we were being told to do it. But at my age at that time, I didn't understand why we were doing it. And I think that was missing.
Sorry. Go on.
No, it's okay.
So at what point did you actually understand what you were doing, and did you ever accept that it was okay to be doing that?
Actually, to be honest with you, it wasn't until I was grown up and I'd actually left home that I really, I had the opportunity to be living by myself, obviously in a very different continent. And I brought with me a whole bunch of practices and a whole bunch of, traditions and things like that. And then I got to that point where I started asking myself, well, why am I doing this? And then I started I need to find the answer for myself. And, it's very interesting because and my dad passed away years ago, and I always wish he was still here. But I remember him having a conversation with me when I was probably about 16 or 17 years old, when, I was at that age where I was trying to, enjoy my life. And he said something to me, and it stays with me. And as a matter of fact, I shared that with my own son. And he said, and I can't remember how he exactly said it, but just to paraphrase what I took away from it, he said, your faith is your personal faith, right? Your belief is your personal. And basically he was trying to tell me that it wasn't what somebody else was doing or what he was doing, because he was a pastor in the church. And at the end of the day, he was the big guy on campus. But he was saying, you need to figure it out for yourself. Because at some point, you're going to have to be making some decisions as to why you're doing it, not because I'm doing it or because your mom is doing it or because we're telling you to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So do you find it odd that in one breath, you're being told that you need to figure it out for yourself, yet in another breath, you're being asked to actually do it without questioning? Yeah. Like I don't even know how we reconcile the two, because in one breath, don't worry, son, you need to find out how you can have this faith. It's personal. You need to understand it. Then the next minute, hey, come and pray. If you don't pray, ABCD. So like bringing it to today's world, like how you're bringing up your son, like how is that different? Like what are you doing differently, and how will it help, changing the narrative?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with what you're saying. And that I think that's exactly the point. Now, I'm not saying I'm the perfect dad. I'm not, certainly that. I'm sure if my son was here, he'd tell you that I had my issues. But I think, and just to take a couple, just to take a pull on a thread from what you said in your last episode, you said that it's possible to worship, without fellowshipping, right? So I think in today's world, people are associating, having a faith, having that relationship, having a Christian worldview, or even some sort of an experience in life, making that decision like with what you do, right, or where you go, or who you sit next to, or in some cases even how you dress, and I think that that's unfortunate. So if I could just take what you said and add one more thing to it, I would say, you can believe without worshiping.
Okay.
And then you can worship without fellowshipping. So there is a progression to that, and it starts with believing. And that's why I think that's, of course, I didn't get it at that time, but I'm thinking about what my dad said. That's why I think that it is so personal, because it starts with believing. You first of all need to know what it is you're believing in. And once you know what it is you're believing in, and you get to figure it out for yourselves. And yeah, there's ways in which you can do that. People will tell you, right? People who've experienced it will tell you. Other people who understand it and have studied it will share that information with you. But then it's up to you to believe it. Then once you
Your
believe
conviction.
it, absolutely. Then once you believe it, then you take it to that next level to start practicing the things that you're convicted to do because of what you believe in. And that forms the worship part. And then as part of that worshiping, you probably want to now start associating yourself with other people, right? Because no man is an island, no person is an island. You can't do it by yourself and survive in the long term. So then at some point, then you desire to want to congregate with other people who share similar beliefs with you. But that's that progression, you know. For most kids, it's the other way around. You start off by being dumped into children's meetings. Let's go. Everybody just get dressed and let's go. You get dumped into the fellowshipping part, and then you get taught the worshiping part. Okay, stand up, sit down, raise your hands, shake your whatever, all that stuff, give it tithes or offerings, all that worship part. You get taught those practices. Then somehow you're supposed to get to the believing part. And to me, that's backwards.
How does that happen? Yeah. Okay. So a summary of what you just said is that it has to be gradual. It has to be a progressive attitude. So you teach the person, or you share your experience with your child, and then you allow them to choose to believe. And once they believe, then they can begin worshiping.
Yes.
And through the worship, they get the desire to now fellowship with other like-minded people. This video is part 1 of 4. Thank you for watching. Join me next week.